Hi, my name is R. Mordecman, and today I'll be talking to you about 5 steps to leveling up your life, how to live bigger, better, more you. And of course, I have my very first PowerPoint presentation that I'm using, so bear with me on that. As you can see, I'm known by a couple things. I've been doing a show called Tortuga Twins since about 1987. I've been traveling on the Renaissance circuit since 1990. Before that, I was a waiter and did odd jobs, working different things from construction and very little acting, things like that. But my biggest life change came in 1990 when I decided to go on the road. One of my business partners convinced me to come out and do things like that with him, and it changed my life. When I first went out, I was very young at the time, and my parents were concerned about what I was going to do with that, and they were worried about my job security and things like that. And as things have turned out, I've watched corporations fall, people lose their jobs, and still I seem to have a job with everything I do, doing what I love. Now, up until that point, you wonder what could be preparing your life for that. Yeah. Being the scrawny kid in high school, I was always picked on, so developing a quick sense of humor was one of my salvations at that time. And that helped me in becoming a comedian, that wry sense of humor, that punishment. In 2010, I started working as far as doing motivational, and some call it motivational comedy. I have a comedic motivational show, podcast called Success Freaks. What helped me in that the most was all those years spent as a Tortuga Twin. All those years doing comedy, all those years being on stage. And yet, even though I had done that for so many times, I performed in front of hundreds, sometimes thousands of people, I was very, very nervous the first few times I did the radio show. And then when I developed into doing a live show, I became even more nervous. So all of those things were still used in leveling up my life. All that stuff is in preparation. It has been building up and up and up for me. So I have a friend of mine named Allison Williams. She does the festivals as well, and she does an aerial silk act. She is in the process of changing her life. She's in the process of devoting herself more to her writing. She's an excellent writer. She's actually won awards doing that. And next Tuesday, on March 26th, I will have her on my show. And the name of that show is going to be called Reinventing Awesome. And I wanted to put that in this presentation because although you may be coming to a place in your life where you want to change who you are, or you want to become more of who you are, you still have an awesome life, even where you are. So just basically you're reinventing that awesome. You're reinventing that. Right now you're living whatever your legacy is. You're living exactly as you are. You're creating your legacy for yourself. I had a mentor of mine ask me, what is your legacy? And I said, well, Tortuga Twins is my legacy. Renaissance festivals is my legacy. She says, no, that's your young man's legacy. What's your mature man's legacy? And I was like, I don't know. I have no idea. And it wasn't until a little while later that I started developing that. How many people have heard of William Shatner? How many people have heard of William Shatner beyond Star Trek? Because he's reinvented himself. He did Star Trek for a while, and then he did movies for a while, and then it kind of just edged him out and moved on without him. And he was able to make fun of himself. If you've ever seen the movie Free Enterprise, he actually plays himself, and he's not that nice of a guy, but it's a very funny movie. And he's able to make fun of himself. He was in Miss Congeniality and Bleak My Dad Says, most recently. So William Shatner has just kind of wrote the book on how to reinvent yourself. Now, if you could be anything in you, and you knew you would not fail, what would you be? Would you be who you are today? Well, some people are like, no, I have to, I've got my job, I got to take care of my kids, I got to take care of my bills, I got everything set up. I can't move on to this other thing, this dream I've always had, this thing that I've always said I wanted to be. I can't move on to that. You don't have to. You need your bread and butter job. You need that thing that's going to help support that foundation. Always, always, always family first. You're going to need that, but why not do both? What you have right now is awesome. Why not reinvent awesome? For me, in the beginning, I still have Tortuga Twins. I still do that on the weekends and during the week. It's still my first career. My secondary career, I began by writing quotes and affirmations on Facebook. under the guise of our Mordant Mom. People started looking at those quotes, and especially the affirmations, and I started getting feedback where people said, always so spiritual, always so wise, always so this, and I was like, they need to see me. Because when they meet me, they're gonna see that I'm kind of a yahoo, kind of a goof, and that's not gonna fly. So I ran into a friend of mine who had been doing a video blog a day for the past year. And I thought, well, that's a great idea. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So I began, part of it was to share a message, part of it was just to share my day-to-day thing of what was going on. And I kept to that for most of the year. Not the whole year, but I kept to that. Right now I have over around 312 blogs that are up. And how these helped me, how these helped level up my life was preparing for this. They were like mini speeches. So on the fly, I had to be able to step up, put up my camera, and go, okay, what am I going to talk about? In the beginning, there were a few times where I would start it and then stop it, or I would start it and go halfway through, and then stop it because I'd hit a dry spot, and I just couldn't think of anything. And there was at one point where I think I had done 7 different versions, and I went and reviewed all of them. The first one was the best. If I had just kept going, I could have ended it. So that taught me something there. That helped level me up there. No matter how bad you think you're doing, keep going, you're probably doing great. When I first started doing the podcast, there would be shows where I worked with a partner, my producer and co-host, Charles McFall. And there would be times he felt like he was throwing me under the bus. What he was really doing was trying to draw out my point, trying to get a different angle, and sometimes we had a difference of opinion. So I was like, oh, he's throwing me under the bus, he's making me look bad. I would go back and listen to the podcast, and it'd be like, no, actually, he was drawing a point out, or that controversy, that conflict was making for a better show. And I've had people say, you both are positive. I call him the dark side of positive. I've had people say, you're both positive, but they like the fact that we hit the show from different angles. Originally, the show was called The Other Side of Life. Now we've changed it to Success Freaks. I have a friend of mine who does a Celtic podcast. And I asked him, well, how many downloads do you get? And he's like, oh, about 30,000. I'm like, a year? He's like, no, an episode. So he listened to ours, and he had heard we had a special show that we called Success Freaks. He's like, why don't you call yourselves that? Because that's really who you are. So I brought it to Charles, and eventually we're like, yeah, that's what we're going to do. And that happened 2 weeks after I bought 200 business cards that said The Other Side of Life. I went to the New Media Expo, and I had those old business cards, and everybody, I'm like, change everything to Success Freaks, but pretty much it's the same thing. So that is what we're doing right now, and having a lot of fun at it. Now, what does it mean to level up your life? Does anybody have any idea? I'll take that as a no. For me, I used to play video games. I played everything from WoW to Skyrim to most recently Borderlands 1 and 2. Does anybody else in here play video games? Good. I was doing that for a while, and then as I began working on the motivation of my second career, as I began working on that, I really didn't have much time for the video games. And I had friends asking me, where have you been? We haven't seen you. What have you been doing? How come we don't see you online? I'm like, oh, I'm too busy leveling up my life. I don't have time for that. And I thought, that's something there, leveling up your life. Now, in video games, you face bigger and badder monsters so that you can get better weaponry and better armor so that you can get more loot, gold, experience points, and achievements. The same thing can be said in real life. The hardships you face will help you become a better person. Everything that you're going through is going to help leveling up your life. It's all about your perspective. If you're looking at these hardships like they're a bad thing, like God is out to get me, or the world, I just have bad luck, you're going to have that bad luck. You're going to have exactly that. There was a study they had where they said the difference between positive people and negative people was not the amount of hardships that everybody went through. It was how they perceived it. The negative people just thought that the world was down on them. Nobody would cut them a break. They had a lot of bad luck. The positive people looked at it as a chance to grow, a chance to use that thing when that was ever happening so they could learn something new so they could use that somewhere else in their life. The more goals you achieve, the more you become the type of person necessary to achieve those goals. Basically, the bigger, better, more hardships you face, difficulties you face, bigger, better, more you become in real life. So just like in video games, we're always facing these things that are happening. We're always doing those things. It sounds like that I'm saying that real life is kind of like a video game. It is. On some level, you can look at it that way. Except the stakes are higher. The stakes are your happiness or your life experience. It's all up to you. One of the reasons that these things happen, why do these things always keep happening to you, is to keep yourself from getting too bored at things happening for you too easily. That's why we get some of the problems we get. And also another reason is just so that you can level up your life. Remember, failure is your friend. They're not problems, they're practice. It's not trouble, it's training. It's all that so that you can level up your life, so you can reach that next level. So that the problems you have when you're a zero-level person, or a first-level person, that fifth-level problem you have. I heard this from Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul and The Success Principles. If you get a fifth-level problem, it's a huge problem when you're at first level. But as you're growing, if you hit fifth level, that problem's not so hard. And then as you hit eighth level, it's no big deal. The problem is still the same. It's you that's changed. It's you that's leveled up. So, right now we're going to look at the 5 steps for leveling up your life. And there are more than just 5. But we're going to talk about these. Here you come to save the day. The first thing that you have to realize that you are responsible for your own happiness. You're responsible for your life experience. It's up to you to seize your life. Carpe vita. You have to be your own hero. No knight in shining armor is going to show up to save you. You are that knight in shining armor. It's up to you to be the hero in your own life. T. Harv Eker originally was going for something that he wanted to see about owning a business. So he went to discover an opportunity for having a pie shop. And he went in there and he explored it and he realized it wasn't really for him. But while he was there, he met somebody who brought him out to another opportunity where he could own a franchise of used weight equipment, used gym equipment. He eventually went on to have 100 of these. And so he eventually went on after that to become a speaker. So he changed his own life. He became the hero in his own life. The good news about this, and the bad news about this, the bad news is that you don't get to blame anybody else for the hardships going on. Now, yes, sometimes stuff happens. Bad things happen to good people. But predominantly, it's up to you how you respond to that. It's up to you how you're going to take care of that. So the bad news is you can't blame anybody else. It's up to you to get yourself out of it. To learn from this, you can sit back and be a victim and say, oh, the universe is out to get me. Or you can go, what do I have to learn from this? What's good about this situation that I'm not seeing right now? The good news is, because you have control over your life, because it's up to you, you can change it if you don't like what's going on. Or you can amend it into something better if you think that, oh look, I've already got awesome, let's have awesomer. Now the second thing that you can do is choose a destiny, or at least a destination. We all need to know where we're going to go in this life. We all need to know what it is we're striving for. If you have something that you've always wanted to be, like flying off the stage, if you had something that you always wanted to be and you weren't sure about it, it's up to you to choose, that's my destiny. So at least know. A lot of times people sit back and go, I don't know what I want to be. I don't know what I want to do. And they just allow life to happen to them. That's where you're choosing a destiny. Now what I mean by just choose a destination is you don't have to find the end-all be-all. You don't have to figure out where you're going, to end up in life. You just have to figure out where you want to go next. If you have an inkling of what you've always wanted to do, then maybe that's where you should be going. Maybe that's where you should be directing yourself. It's up to you to choose that, so at least you know where you're going to go. And you don't have to stick with that. Just like with T. Harv Eker and the pie shop, he went for one thing, went down one hallway, and he saw a completely different door open that he would not have seen if he'd not gone to the pie shop. So it's up to you to at least pick a destination and be free enough to go, oh, I can change my mind at any point. I started off being a Tortuga twin, and now I'm doing motivation. I have a radio show, I'm speaking, and who knows where this is going to take me. Between Tortuga twins and the motivational, I wanted to do on-camera acting. I wanted to do film acting, and I did a little bit of that. So who knows if that's not going to circle back again. but right now this is where I'm going. It's up to you to figure out what that is in your life that you want to do. So the very next thing is create a roadmap. Something that says you are here and it takes you there. How many people have a GPS? How many people have heard of GPSs? One thing I love, I have ADD, and I have what I like to call a bad sense of direction. Not no sense of direction, but a bad sense of direction. No sense of direction to be like, oh, okay, maybe this way or this way. Bad sense of direction. I have gone up to a traffic light, and my friend has said, which way do you think it is? And I said, I think it's that way. And he says, okay, go that way. We've gone that way, and it's been right. I've done that by myself as well. What I love about GPS is that it will guide me through a city that I don't know. As the Tortuga twin, I travel around the country. I work here, I work in Atlanta, I work in the Twin Cities, I work in North Carolina and Louisiana. That's a lot of places that I have to remember where everything is. And usually, by the time I get to town, I can't remember exactly until I start working my way around. I'm like, oh yeah, that's where everything is. But a GPS, as long as I can save everything in the GPS, it will guide me and direct me to where I want to go. If not to the end point, at least where I want to go first. And the other thing that I really love about GPSs is that if you want to take a side trip, or if you have to go around a detour, it will always bring you back. So create a roadmap for where you want to go. Now it may sound scary, and it is, but it gets easier. When you're first looking at your life, you may not like what you're going to see. 1 year for my New Year's resolution, I wanted to balance my check. And I decided, instead of doing it, analog, I did it digital, so I did it on the computer, and everything was great for that. The big ugly was when I had to look at my finances, when I had to look at where everything was, and realize, oh, this is really what it looks like. These bills were hitting, and I only have this much money. What I had before was that I was hoping I would get through from month to month. This way, I knew when stuff was hitting. Eventually, after a while, everything balanced out, and now I have a system to keep me on top of everything. And I'm living a much better life. The same thing with creating a roadmap. It may not look pretty at first when you're assessing your life. When you figure out where you want to go, you have to start with where you are. Maybe there's some things that you have to go through. Maybe there's some things that you need to do to level up your life first, or that you think you have to first. But once you realize where you want to go, you have to look at where you are so you know where you can go from there. If you have a friend who calls you and says, hey, I need to get to the party that you're at tonight, you have to ask them, okay, cool, where are you at? Because otherwise, you're not going to help guide them. So do yourself a favor, you need to create a roadmap. There's many ways you can do this. You can use a list, you can use an outline, you can use a mind map, or you can even, if you want to get fancy, you can create a regular map. The thing that I like to use are lists, because with my ADD, I have a tendency to get caught with shiny stuff in front of me. And if that's happening, I need to kind of go, okay, what's first on my list? All right, that is. Even writing a list is not enough for me. I have to hone it down, because sometimes I'll look at the long list and go, I don't know what needs to be done. And I get stuck. I get stuck there. So instead, I'll even point out which is first, which is second, which is third. So if I don't have something that's pulling me in a certain direction, I'm able to go, okay, I said this was the most important, I'm going to work on this. At any time, you can change it up. It's your list, it's your life, it's what you're doing. If you're like, no, this is more important now, go to that. You can change where you're going with your roadmap. You can take a side trip. You can have a vacation. It's up to you. So what do you find most daunting? What do you find most daunting about the things that you want to do in your life? Is it creating those first steps? Is it, I just don't know how to do this? I don't know what I'm doing. That's my big one. That's a lie to tell myself that so that I don't have to do this. What's daunting for you? What's daunting for you if you want to try something? This is where the stops becoming a speech and becomes a conversation. What's daunting for you? If you have something that you've always wanted to do in your life, what is it? Fear of failure?
I'm actually pretty good at embracing failure. I think sometimes, and we've written about
So sometimes, if you're sitting down at a dinner table and you order your meal, and your meal shows, and you're like, oh, I'm famished, and suddenly this huge plate of stuff comes out, and you're just like, oh, I'm not hungry, it's so much. It's too much. Sometimes it's just too much. So breaking it down is a good way to help things. Some people it's fear of failure. Some people, oddly enough, it's fear of success. Some people don't want to look bad in front of others. So whatever it is, whatever you need to do, you just got to break it down. And you do what I like to call baby steps. So I think there was a movie called What About Bob, in which there was a psychologist in there, and he had something called baby steps. And it's hokey, it's goofy, but for the purposes of our lives, it does work. So instead of going, oh, okay, how do I get from here to my huge destination or destiny, you can break it down. I've got this roadmap, and it says all these things I'm supposed to do. How do I do that? I'm scared. What do I do? Well, how many people have ever seen the TV show Friends? All right, so at least you all know what it was. There was a moment where Chandler, the character Chandler, was supposed to get married, and he freaked out, so he ran. And his buddy Ross hunted him down. And Chandler's like, I'm afraid. I don't know what to do. I'm just paralyzed. He's like, okay, look. First of all, put on your pants. You can put on your pants every day. It's no big deal. Just put on your pants. It doesn't mean anything. Just put on your pants. Okay, now put on your jacket. You go to work every day. Put on your jacket. Doesn't mean you're getting married. Just put it on. Okay, now we're going to walk down this hall that you walk to every day. Just do that. If you find that these things that you're moving towards are so daunting, break it down. What's the first step? Well, I want to become a pilot. Actually, I had somebody say that. I want to become a pilot. First step, go to the computer and Google it. Flying lessons. You use your computer every day. This doesn't mean that you're going to actually do anything. Just take that step. Break it down. That's your first step. Google flying lessons. Okay, make a list of the people that are closest to you. The people, call somebody up. You actually use the phone every day. So go ahead and do that. And that's how you break things down. After that is take action. Stop thinking about it and just do it. The best laid plans are just that if you don't take action. Has anybody ever heard of The Secret? How many people have read it or seen it or heard it to at least know what it is? What's missing from that? What's missing from the book, The Secret? Does anybody know? Taking action. Absolutely, that was the biggest complaint. It's a big motivational book. It's a big, what I like to call stirring the quantum soup manifestation book, but it doesn't talk about taking action. Has anybody ever heard of audible.com? This book is also available on audible.com, but also is a speech called The Secret Teachers Recorded Live, in which it has speakers like Jack Canfield, Lisa Nichols, Bob Proctor, all the people that were in The Secret are speaking on this. I recommend the speech highly. You can get it from audible.com. Because what they do is they share a little bit of their own spiel, their own way of doing things. But when they talk about The Secret, they all say the one thing missing is taking action. And it should have been there. And I don't believe they chide Rhonda Byrne too much about it, but they're very adamant about taking action. You can manifest and think on things and stir the quantum soup and create reality around you. You can create opportunity all you want, but until you reach out and take it, take action, it doesn't count. It's a nice idea. So in order to be the hero in your life, you have to come to your own rescue. You have to take action. Now, failing forward is one of my favorite things to do. A lot of people are afraid of failure, but they forget that failure is your friend. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is a necessary ingredient. If the only reason that you're not doing something right now in your own life, whatever this huge dream is that you've always wanted to do, if the only reason you're not doing that is because you're afraid of failure, you're failing now. You're screwing it up now. You're already failing. So why not fail forward? Move forward and make a big mess of things. Make a big happy mess of it, and it's great. I actually was supposed to go in and ask somebody to be on my show. She was at the Heroes Con in Charlotte. She's a comic book artist, rapper, singer, woman that I've never met before. One of my team actually found her and said, go ask her to be on the show. I'm kind of shy. Although I stand up on stage in front of people, if I don't know you, if I'm not comfortable, I'm actually very, very shy. In fact, as far as speaking about failing forward, this is kind of it for me. For whatever reason, Motivational speaking is a little bit outside my comfort zone, although I performed on stage before. And I think it's just exposing myself to it and doing more and more and more and more. So I was nervous in going to talk to her. And the whole way forward, I'm going to fail forward, fail forward, fail forward, fail forward. I went, I met her, it was fun, she was great, she said yes. She hasn't been on the show yet, but I recorded a vlog with her. Her name is Afua Richardson. And it's a fun, happy vlog, and you wouldn't be able to tell how nervous I was before meeting her. You don't know what you're going to accomplish until you try. You will not accomplish anything unless you try in your own life, and it's up to you. Remember, back to that, you are responsible. One of the things I like to talk about is ready, fire, aim. You know, there's such a thing as, who's ever heard of analysis paralysis? Very important that we get things ready in our life. It's very important that you set up and prepare. But you can get to a point where you're sitting there and you're holding yourself back, well, I'm not ready yet, I'm not ready yet, I'm not ready yet, to the point where you never get anything done. If you have the opportunity, do your preparation, do your due diligence, absolutely. But then ready, fire, aim, as you go, as you go. Remember, failure is here to do many things, but the first thing is that it's here to help thicken our skin. It helps us get used to failure. When I first started doing the live broadcast for Success Freak, we would have technical difficulties or hardships getting on the air or things like that would happen. And so if you listen to the first 10, I mean, sometimes you'll still hear it, but if you listen to the first 10, there's actually one time where I had to go run upstairs and reset the router and run back down during the live broadcast. And this helped me so that early on when I made all those big mistakes, when it really didn't matter, it was just kind of leveling me up. So that later on, when I was on a much bigger screen for people to see me, so that when those same things happened, I was able to go, keep going. It'll be fine. We'll fix it in post. Somebody will fix it. Or when I do my show, I'm usually doing it with my co-host Charles, who is based out of Monticello, Georgia. No matter where I'm at, that's where he is. So sometimes we'll lose touch with each other during the show. And because of those early failures, I'm able to go, he'll be back. Oh, look, there he is. Instead of freaking out, you're like, I gotta do this by myself. So failure is your friend in that it thickens your skin, it gets you used to it. Please God, fail early. Please. Because then it doesn't matter. Because when you're the head of a big corporation or a big company or a production company or whatever your dream is, and you've never faced failure, and then you go into the fetal position because, whoever saw Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog? One person, two people. Well, in it, there's a guy who is Captain Hammer, and he's a superhero. He's able to do all these things, and he never gets hurt. By the end of there was 3 installments. By the end of the 3rd installment, he actually gets hurt. Winds up, he can't deal with it because he's never experienced pain. He was a hero, not because he was courageous, not because he faced his fear or faced the pain, but because he never had to experience it. And in the very end, you see him, he's actually on the couch, on the therapist's couch, dealing with the pain. So fail early, because if you do, later on, it's not going to be a big deal to you. Failure also helps guide you. It moves you through. You're like, oh, let me try that. I'm going to go and do this thing over here. Ooh, that didn't work. Maybe I need to hone it and move it over here. Oh, that didn't work. All those things. So failure helps guide you. It also shows the weak links in your armor. It shows the weak links, the things you need to work on. If you have something, a presentation you're showing to somebody, or something that you're doing, and you have somebody complain about it, or throw a question out at you that you're not able to handle, you can get pissed off at them, throwing you under the bus, or you can be grateful because it showed you something you need to work on. So failure also shows those weak spots so that you can level up your life. So the 5 steps to leveling up your life. You are responsible for your happiness. Take responsibility. It's up to you. Don't be afraid of that. Be happy about it. Because it means you can change things if you don't like it. It's always up to you. You're a different person today than you were yesterday, than you were the day before. It's up to you to become who you want to be in this life. Choose your destiny, or at least a destination. Figure out, you know what, I want to be this great, whatever. And think big. Life's short, think big. Doesn't mean that you're going to have to go there right away. Don't worry about it. You're not going to walk into the gym and lift the 100-pound weights. You're going to walk in here and lift the 5-pound weights, but you're going to be eyeballing the 100-pound weights. So choose a destiny, or at least a destination. Create a roadmap so you know where you're going. Use that GPS. Set it up so that you're like, okay, I'm going to do this, 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 knowing that at any moment you might change things. And then when you look at your roadmap and it's freaking you out, realize that you're able to break it down. Lay out actionable steps. Okay, I'm going to go, I need to do this. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and do this, 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 and this. However you want to do it. And then finally, done all this, take action. Fail big. Move forward. Enjoy your life. Life is a game, play to win. Make a big mess of things and have fun. Remember, the challenges happen just like in video games or any other game, and that makes it more fun. Because if it's easy, who wants to play an easy game? Sure, you look good, but then you get bored. That's why we set up positive versus negative drama. Positive drama is working on some career, is working on some dream you've had, working on a relationship. Negative drama is where there's really you got nothing else going on, you're just going to the JOB, so I think I'm going to do something to screw things up, because I'm bored. I'm going to go to the bar and drink too much, I'm going to fool around with my spouse, I'm going to do drugs, I'm going to do whatever it is. They can be small mess-ups too, it doesn't have to be the big things. And a lot of this happens subconsciously. So pick positive drama over negative drama. So extra credit. I HOBA do you. I help others be awesome. You really want to level up your life? Help somebody else out. You really want to be successful? Help somebody else out. This is a perfect environment for this. Gangplank is wonderful. One of the things that I've heard is, one of the rules here is please eavesdrop. If somebody is talking about something and you're not involved in the conversation and it's something that interests you, ask them about it. And they will help you. They will bring you in. It's that kind of environment here. You really want to grow your business, you really want to grow your relationship, you really want to grow whatever it is you're doing in your life, your hobby, help someone else be awesome, help others be awesome. Be about that. Because if you're holding on to this thing going, no, 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 I've got my own business here, and if I tell Barney here, Barney's going to be able to take my business away, and then I'm going to have less money. It's an attitude of scarcity that really doesn't belong in this place or in your life. You have to believe that there's enough to go around, because whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Henry Ford said that. But it's also true here. If you think there's not enough to go around, that you're right for you. If you think there's more than enough to go around, you're right for you and for the people you're helping. And down the line, maybe a month, maybe 2 months, maybe a year, 5 years, somebody's going to remember you and go, hey, and they're going to throw you a bone. And at the very least, you're going to have a much better life experience. And that goes with your happiness. That's you in control of your happiness. So help others be awesome. It's very important. And I've already talked about failing forward. That was the other thing. I have one more thing for extra credit that I didn't put in this. And that is, one of our shows was called Always Be Learning, Yo. We couldn't think of a name for the title, and my co-host was, what about that? I'm like, that sounds great. No matter what you're doing in life, whether it's working the JOB, whether it's wanting to chase your dream, always find some way to teach yourself something. You know, you can go to your self-helpy books, you can go to your friends, you can learn things from video games, you can learn things at the brown bag, you can learn things from the guy who's talking too much in front of you and you just wish this speech was over. You can learn from whoever it is, but always be learning, because it keeps your brain fresh. When you're creating new neural pathways in your brain, it keeps you young, it keeps you from being bored in life. My dad used to work overseas in the State Department. He had many, many people underneath him. I was adopted in the mid-40s. So I only got to see when we moved to the States and he bought a small ranch. And he took care of cows and chickens and things, not many things. And after living that life of being over all those people and being very important, he found himself very alone. He would go out and mow the lawn on his riding lawn, or go fishing and drink a lot. So always learn something. Always take yourself somewhere new. Always challenge yourself. Go outside your comfort zone. You're worth it. But you have to earn this life. You have to fight for that. You're worth it, but it's up to you. I want to thank everybody. This has been 5 steps to leveling up your life. And if you want to find out more about me, it's all right here. As far as we broadcast weekly, live on Adam Curry's No Agenda stream. You can go to successfreaks.com/NAS. If you want to listen to any of the shows, we just finished last night with show number 89, going all the way back to number 1. You can find us at successfreaks.com. We're also available on iTunes. Like I said, next Tuesday we're going to have Allison Williams is going to be in. She's actually going to be in the Georgia studio. But I'll be here, and this is the first time I'm going to be opening up as kind of a meetup and inviting any of my listeners to come in. If you want to come and listen to the show live, you're welcome to. It's 6 o'clock here. So next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. And if you want to see, if you want to take a trip to Georgia in June, we're doing Success Freaks Live Level Up Conference. I really like science fiction and fantasy conventions and comic book conventions, and I thought, what a great thing. I'm sure there's motivational conventions out there. And there really isn't, except for on the biggest levels. So I've learned if you really want to do something, create it. And then you get to do it. And you get to bring all your friends in. Once again, my name is R. Mordadman. If you have any questions, I'm free to answer them, or if you want to talk to me afterwards, I'm able to do that as well. Thank you.